Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about the electronics kit that I made 3 years ago, and I have updated it every so often throughout the 3 years, and this is what I have so far. The kit's in a Vanquest EDCM huge 2.0 pouch, and we made some modifications to the items inside here, replaced some multimeters, took out some items, added some more items in. The case is pretty bulky, but it does do its job for my work on small electronic projects like ham radio projects and minor small electronics repairs and antenna making and that sort of thing. Now, a lot of the stuff is still a little bit disorganized, but the arrangement does allow for a good customization of organization, and since revising it, it's become a little bit more streamlined for me. So here we have the Vanquest EDCM 2.0 huge pouch. We got the front pouch here with the the Velcro field in the front here, hook and loop field. We got a slip pouch here and got my notepad for taking notes and my pen for writing notes. It's pretty thick. Here's a side view and the other side view with the spine here. I do have an S-binder here on my paracord zipper pulls, the YKK zipper pulls with the locking holes here to keep the pouch from coming apart in transition, which it doesn't, but it's always good to have safety. The back here with the Molly Pals webbing, and then on the grab handle here, I have a Snapgate measuring tape. And that's basically the outside of the pouch. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's get inside it and take a look. On the inside, you'll see we have a variety of different organizational levels. This is a pretty comprehensive kit for my electronics use. Once again, I use it for ham radio stuff and small electronic projects. So let's start with taking it apart and looking at it in a deep dive here. So on the left, we have a variety of different webbing arrangements and rows. I keep a lot of my tools that I use for taking apart screens. I've taken apart my Surface Pro 4 screen before with some of these tools, these plastic spudgers, even some of these metal ones too as well. But I can take apart phone screens with that, and I do have the little sticky things in the back, which we'll get to. But we have spudgers here in some of these arrangements. We have mechanical pencil. I do have some glue. We have more spudgers here in the strap here. I do keep a soldering kit in this kit, and I do have an 8-watt USB soldering iron. This is a 5-volt soldering iron, and it does 8 watts out at about 1.5 to 2 amps of current draw at 5 volts. So it's not the best soldering iron, simple on off. It does get the job done, and I do solder with it for a little bit, and I use it with the built-in battery pack in the kit. So it fits pretty nicely in here and works fairly well. We'll put that off to the side here. And this strap, I do have the cable for that. It's a simple insert in USB. I do that and I'm ready to go. Moving along on the bottom portion of the strap here, I do have a vial of alcohol spray. This is an old bug spray container. I used it for alcohol now. And in this strap here, like I pointed out, we have some spudgers, my mechanical pencil, and I do have my tweezers, which I use quite a lot. And it comes with this little holder here, which is quite nice. In the back here, I have my metal spudgers, and I electronic tape them together. And I have a big flat broad prying tool, which is pretty good for those bigger screens to get underneath them and not mar the metal or cause a short in the contacts. Small Allen key. Another different type of plastic prying tool. We typically don't want to use a lot of metal when it comes to electronics, as they can damage and mar surfaces. This is pretty good for getting underneath the screen and kind of lifting up. Came in a kit I bought for Amazon, or from Amazon. Next up is a pair of these metal spudgers, different types. Comes in handy. We'll take out the glue here, T7000. And then down here I have a USB cable, which I use for converting. It's a micro one, and I have a converter to a Apple in case I need to charge an Apple device or power one up. It's got a lightning adapter to it. Behind here in this slot, I do have a bunch of heat shrink tubing, which comes in handy for a lot of projects when I have to solder in different wires and create new power cables and connectors. This works fairly well. Down here I have a set of nail clippers. These are flat, portable ones. They come in handy for the zip ties, which we can see up here for clipping them down. If I have to zip tie something or do cable management and I want it nice and neat, these get right up to the edge and they give you a nice clean cut. Definitely worth having. Down here is a micro USB 2.0 reader. Not much else said about it, but it helps to be able to see and read micro USB cards. In here I have a USB-C cable. And then I have some chapstick. The reason why I have this in here is if I want to lubricate threads with some kind of oil, I can do that with this. Moving along, I do have some bigger toothpicks that I got at Applebee's and cleaned up. Work fairly well for non-conductive probes and grabbing things too in a chopstick format. I'm just kidding. They're good for poking around. Small bag of elastic ties. I have some paper clips here of different sizes. I have another elastic tie in this one, a slightly thicker one. And I do have a random zip tie in this one. And then back behind here, I do have a smaller driver here. Usually these are good for smaller screws, for precision work. I do keep some more toothpicks in there for various prodding and poking. So this came with a eyeglass kit and I decided to keep it together in a little tube here. Now, as a side note, you can probably replace some of these with needles and stuff if you want to have a portable sewing kit with your electronics kit, but it doesn't really fit the theme. But they're pretty good, these little tubes here. I think I got this at a store for like maybe $1.50 or something like that a while back. I wanted it for the tube. And then I do have glue in the set I can use with heat. And I do have a lighter in the kit so I can melt my glue sticks and adhere it to something. And I keep it in this little bag here. So that's the front pouch here. Several different elastic loops on here. And once again, the Vanquest EDCM Huge 2.0 is a great, fantastic kit for organizing your items with these elastic loops. I like the way they do it, how they're offset here, so you can kind of fit and manage your items a little bit more easily to get at and use. So going behind the pockets here, let's get into it. I have a 3000 milliamp hour battery bank at 5 volts out. Takes USB-C in or micro in, or USB-C out, or a USB-A out. So it's pretty good. It's how I power up my soldering iron for a few minutes. It works fairly well. It's pretty good. Then attached to my key loop holder here, I do have one suction puller here. I might have to replace this one. It's a little bit tear there, but it's what I use to go on a screen and pull it up with. So I got one on here, and I have another one to use, so I can use both hands to pull up on a screen. This is a little Carson microscope, or a very, very powerful magnifying glass. It comes with a light in here for the magnifying glass and a general light, and it also has a UV light here. So I have a UV light with my kit, and I have that attached to here as it's small and portable. Next up is another plastic grabber, again for double grabbing on a screen. And then I have the obligatory electric tape. I could probably crush this down and make it smaller for the kit. Then behind here I do have some microfiber towels, or one rather, just to kind of wipe down screens, make sure they're not getting scratched on the lenses, things like that, or plastic housing. Comes in handy. Then I have some plastic sealing, which can be used as a band-aid in an emergency, or as a protective cover, or a waterproof sealing, or weather-resistant sealing, which comes in handy in certain electronic projects. And that's pretty much it for this side of the pouch. Let's go to the center spine here, as there's a couple of webs here, which come in handy. In here I have a 32 gigabyte USB 2.0 stick Very small, very minor. Doesn't take up much space. Pretty good. Here I have a USB reader and a USB out, so I can measure current. If I'm trying to troubleshoot a USB port or something like that, I can kind of get an idea what's going on with electronics. Beyond here, I do have my charging cable for my headlamp. It's a Brunite 16 Noctow headlamp. And in the center, I've been using this for about 2.5, 3 years now. This is the Hodo mini bit driver. And what's nice about it is that it's all magnetic, and it stores these little bits in here very conveniently. And they're all magnetic, so they fit in the magnetic holder in the front here. Slap that on, and it has a little palm turner here, which is quite nice for getting into precision bits and whatnot. So it's a great little driver. Small space, but a lot of utility. It's not ESD protective, but it does get the job done for certain things, and it's a precision driver, which is quite nice. And then next to it, I have another type of spudger. Getting over to the other side here, we have more mechanical stuff. For example, here, I do have some safety pins in this web here, and a random piece of wire for testing. And then I have this 5-inch pair of locking pliers. Now, the reason why I have locking pliers in my electronical kit is if I'm doing some kind of soldering, I need to hold something, I need a third hand. I don't usually have my two hands sometimes with me. This is more of like a house kit, but sometimes it's a travel kit. So I like to be able to hold on to something with this without having to hold on to it with my soldering iron. So basically it gives me another way to hold on to something while I'm soldering. So it's quite nice and quite useful for a variety of different things as well. Underneath the strap, we do have a lighter. And then on the top strap here, we do have the Victorinox Midnight Mini Champ. So this has a lot of different tools on it. It has a main blade, which is very used, a 3D Phillips head screwdriver, combo tool, wire bender, wire stripper, bottle cap lifter, scissors, which are second to none in terms of multi-tools rather. We do have a small spudger here, which is kind of bent, but it works fairly well for cleaning things and moving things. And then we do have a small ruler, so it's a little bit more precise, smaller. It's like a depth gauge, basically. Then we have this package opener. Then we have a Warncraft blade, which is very sharp compared to the main blade. And then finally we have another poke here with a nail file here. So I can do some light duty filing with this. And then on the side here, we do have a light here, which comes in handy as a secondary light, and a pen here. So in case my other pen breaks or wears out, I still got a pen here, and I can see in the dark when I'm writing too. Quite a useful tool, one of my favorite small 58mm variants of the Victorinox sets. Put that right back there. And next up here in the list, we do have a out-of-print tool. This is a very worn-out Leatherman E4. Now, this Leatherman E4 has a variety of different tools. We'll start on this side here. We do have a 3D Phillips head driver, which is quite nice for a small tool like this, being a 3D one. Then we have a slotted driver here, which I still have my oil on the tool here from cleaning it. There's a slotted portion here, bottle cap lifter. It's a nice small little tool, works fairly well. And then on this side we have a very, very short slotted screwdriver or a poker bit if you want. And then on this side, we have a pair of actual tweezers. So this can come in handy, although we don't have tweezers in our other Victorinox, which usually has that. Then on this side, we have our 420 HC stainless steel blade. I sharpened it up. Still got some damage on it, but it works fairly well. And then finally, for this side, we have a 3-sided file, which does come in handy. We have a cross hatch section here, which is coarse, and a single hatch section here, which is a more finer gradient, and then a bottom cutting portion here. And you could double it as a very, very light duty, probably pry bar, but I wouldn't do that with this kind of metal. And then finally, the main tool of the kit for wire stripping. This is the E4 wire stripper. We have 20, 18, 16, 14, and 12 gauge. And at the very tip, we do have these small little teeth gripping pliers. And then in the center here, we do have a wire cutter here. So this is more of a electronic focused multi-tool of the kit. and it's very rare to find nowadays. There's another variant of this. It's called the ES4, and it basically replaces the 3D Phillips head screwdriver with a 2D one, and it also adds in place of the tweezers a pair of scissors. Next up is the Bernite H16 Noctowl, and that cable that I had before goes to it, and we can recharge it here with this proprietary recharging system. This is a 16340 battery operated light, which is quite nice, very small. And what I like about it is that it is a rotational light, so it goes in a 90-degree fashion, and this does come with a headband for headlamp, so you can do hands-free operations when you're working on electronics, which definitely comes in handy. I have it stored in the kit. We'll get to that later, but very nice tool. You can use it as a regular flashlight, and it comes on, has different modes to it. That's about it. Very straightforward light, great for the kit. Next up is a small cloth for wiping on glasses and other materials, soft. Again, not a microfiber one, but a very non-abrasive cloth for wiping down LCD cases and things like that. Next up is a modification I did to this and a change up. I decided to get some sockets in metric and in standard, and I do have the socket driver right next to it, so sometimes you might have to open a case that has these kind of socket arrangements, and this is my answer to it. Not a necessity in a electronic kit, but it does help to have a little bit of a crossover for a toolkit here. And this is a small little Titan 1/4-inch ratchet driver. So a very useful tool to have as a backup. And it's got my 1/4-inch adapter, hex adapter here. I might add more to this in this setup in the future, but that's what we have for now. And that's my little 1/4-inch ratchet driver. Next up on this web here, we do have the main multi-tool of the kit. This is a Gerber multiplier, the MP600, I believe. And this was given to me by my father a few years back for helping him out. I don't use this one as much. It's like a secondary multi-tool in my kits. I'm usually a Leatherman kind of guy, but this Gerber fits pretty nicely in this kit. It works fairly well. You got your basic needle-nose pliers here, regular pliers, wire cutters, and I believe this is a wire stripper or bender back down here. I'm not exactly sure on this part here, but looks like a crimper, in fact. On the inside, we do have these locking tools. We have a serrated blade, a lanyard holder, a 3D Phillips head screwdriver, and a slotted screwdriver. And then on this side, we have a file, which comes in handy. It's a 3-sided file. A very fine tooth gradient on the bottom here, actually. I'll take that back. It's not a 3-sided file. It's a 2-sided file. But we do have a coarse and a single hatch section here, which is finer. And the coarse hatch is double hatched there. And then we have, I believe this is going to be our main blade here. And then we have a variety of different slotted screwdrivers. And that's about it for the tool. So not too comprehensive, but works fairly well. Slides in and out. I like that little push button action. It's quite nice. We have a ruler here in inches, which comes in handy, and then we have a ruler in centimeters, which is quite nice as well. These are my probes to my Fluke 101, which I'm going to pull out right now. This was a recent acquisition. This is a multimeter, and it uses 2 AAA batteries, and it's made in China, but it's made to a certain standard, which I like, and it's great for just home use, for measuring electronics, and I wanted to go to name brand. I used to have an Allison in here, which fit really nice, and it runs fairly well, and I do use that in my other kits, but I wanted something a little bit more streamlined, if you will, and the Fluke 101 comes in handy. There's a lot of variety of measurings here, continuity checks, whatnot. It doesn't have a backlight, though, with it, but that's okay. We're not going to be working in the dark mostly with this kit, and I do have a headlamp if I need it. Moving up to this pouch beneath here, we have a variety of different items in here. So I do have my solder here. Now this is a 6040 rosin core. So I have 60% tin, 40% lead, and this is going to be 0.032 diameter, and it's about 50 ounces. This is one of my favorite types of solder to work with because it works fairly well. I do prefer to have a little bit of lead in my solder, even though it's a lot more dangerous. but I use it in here. It works fairly well. If I'm doing bigger projects, I'll change out solder and flux and whatnot, but that's basically it for now. And then we have a credit card with duct tape around it. Always useful to have. And then I have my USB adapter here. This is just a straight up AC wall outlet into USB. If I want to run my solder iron off something more substantial, or if I want to charge up my battery bank and then use my solder iron, I can with this kit. And then back to the pocket up here, I do have a Fresnel lens, cleaning wipe. I have a dry and wet one, and they're anti-static. And then I have this little card slot with an extra multi-tool for scraping and just some cutting if I need to. I don't have a saw in the kit, and this is pretty much the quasi saw for the kit, although not a very good one. And then here on the side, I got this from my brother. These are Jonard Telecom wire cutters, and they work fairly well. They do have notches here for each of the wire stripping of telecom industry, and they do have this, I guess, gripping portion on the bottom here. I think that's probably for crimping, if I'm not mistaken. Very strong, made in USA, I believe, and very rugged. Works very well. And then I'm going to get to our zipper pouch in the back here, which houses a lot of other miscellaneous items, namely my headlight holder from my headlamp, the Noctow, and then a USB light here, so I can just plug this in and have light on with me as a USB light if I need to. I have some Loctite here. This is Thread Locker Blue 242. I have some small cotton, and then I have some more of these spudgers here for screen work and a pin ejector. I have some random assorted parts here, extra wiring in case I need it in a small bag, some extra glue, B7000, more paper organizers, although this has some flint in it from my other lighter that I used to have in there, another backup wiping cloth like this one here, in here, and then I have some connector ports, some dormant stuff, both various sizes, and some fuses in here, which are basically your materials, your expendables. I do like to have a little bit in here in case I need to connect something up real quick or make a makeshift wire. I can do that with this. I mainly use it for antenna making, but it does come in handy for other things. And then I have this little stand from my soldering iron, which it can rest on. It's a foldable piece of tin here I can unfold, and it can rest on it without starting a fire. I keep it in this plastic case here. Then I have a small hank of cordage. You can't really go wrong with cordage in case I got to lash something or put something together. And that should be just about it in the entire kit here. I don't think I have anything else. I have a smaller Allen key here with small screws as well. And that's the entire kit for my electronic kit. Works fairly well. I do have a version 2 of this, which I have off the side. We'll do another video on, and we'll go over that at a later date. But this is my primary kit that pretty much stays at home and allows me to work on projects at home without having too much difficulty going through the drawer of a cabinet or something, rummaging around for stuff. I have everything right where I need it right here. So it's quite useful and works fairly well for my needs. That's all I have to say. I want to say thank you for watching and enjoy your day.